Santa sat upon the sleigh, pumped up his cushions. The sleigh contents were given a quick glance over. Elves are very good at doing their job, so it was just a glance. And then, when satisfied, he shouted, "Whoop, whoop," and pulled on the reins. And with that, he started moving with the power of the 6-stone reindeer, with the muscle strain in their thighs apparent, as they planted each hoof into the snow and hauled the great monstrosity up to speed, with the stale of promised carrots driving them on, before their hoofs were touching nothing but air, as Santa, sleigh, presents, deer become airborne, gaining altitude at an alarming rate. He loved the feeling of the wind in his eyebrows and a full sack that he could empty throughout the night, making many people happy as long as they were good. They didn't watch, and they kept their eyes closed at all times when he come. This may have been because he hung around 70s DJs in his younger years. Nan and Felicity had drunk their tea and were now putting on their coats and boots. Nan had sneaked out a catapult and frozen peas without the knowledge of Felicity, and Felicity had sneaked out ball bearings as she didn't think peas would be enough, and Flounder sat in the shadows waiting. The deer were pulling well, that Santa thought. Maybe 7 would have been a bit better, but ho, ho! The sleigh was flying very high, and the stars were magnificent as a backdrop to their journey. Santa gave a little tug on the reins and calmly explained, "Easy now," and they all started heading towards the planet's surface, ready to start chimney descending and stocking filling. Below them was an ocean of lights that mirrored the sky above, but more flashy and colourful, and it illuminated their travel downwards towards the first distribution area, like a squashed glitter ball, with fragments of sharded glass reflecting across the landscape. The delivery had been going well, with lots of wine and mince pies being left out. Most of the people had put out their fires, and there had been only 1,000 wood burner flues that he had to shimmy through, which he disliked as it pushed all his stomach contents upwards and gave him extreme acid reflux. And as he finished the last house in the area, he boarded the sleigh and set off to the next. As Santa came into view and was just coming into land at the next drop, Flounder switched on the Christmas lights. 2 things happened. One was a small area occupied by Santa in mid-flight was enveloped in a rapid strobing flash that made everything slow down, time broken into shattered images following the sleigh's flight, and secondly, Santa going into photosynthesis epileptic spasm, his body convulsing like a suffocating trout on a damp electric mattress. The sleigh, no longer under the control of Santa, veered off to the left and hit the ground, deer being scooped up and pushed along the grass with the weight and momentum of the crash, and then coming to an abrupt halt as the leading deers were impaled on the well-positioned wooden spikes, and the weight of the other 4 deer, sleigh, foaming and slobbering Santa and presents, pushed the spikes in even further, like a bloody fleshy anchor. Nan and Felicity had witnessed the whole thing and stood aghast at the enormity of the problem. No presents, no Christmas, the whole world would be affected with a dark despair engulfing the hopes of children's dreams and smashed and trodden into the sod. But then, awakening from the shock, they ran to the crash site to help if possible. Santa was twisting and writhing, and Felicity, sensing the danger of the tongue swallowing, immediately took to saw off one of the deer's antlers, using a very handy wood saw that had been carelessly left next to the crush scene, and placed it in Santa's mouth along with a good scraping of deer velvet. She could hear insane laughter coming from the trees, but chose to ignore it, as at that moment she needed to focus all her attention on Santa while Nan dealt with the carnage. Santa was a mess, but the sleigh had survived well, and the other deer, after being unhitched from the dead companions, looked healthy and ready to go. The huge present spill had magically unspilled and was now looking just like a small royal mail sack. Santa was recovering. The antler had stopped him choking on his tongue, and the deer velvet was helping his brain functions. Look up the health benefits. And so his fits were becoming more and more under control. As soon as the accident had happened, a message had been sent to the elves, and they arrived a few minutes later on 2 reindeer. "Told you 6 wouldn't be enough," they told him, and not being bothered to argue the point, he put on the crab costume they had brought along as Felicity turned to investigate the noises coming from the shadows.